Hello everyone, I am here with another amazing live session with VAPI.
Hey
And
everyone,
without
ready to
wasting
rock this
time,
live session?
without wasting time, let's start our conversation. Today, our topic is how to improve communication skills in English in a professional manner.
Sounds like a great topic. Improving communication skills is always important,
Yes,
especially in a professional setting.
yes.
So,
So my
where would you like to start
so
with
my
this
first
topic?
question is, what are your strengths in English communication?
Well, I'd say my strength lies in being a good listener and being able to respond in a clear and concise manner.
What areas of English communication do you find challenging?
I find idioms and colloquial expressions to be a bit challenging. Understanding phrases like raining cats and dogs can be quite puzzling.
What would you rate your confidence in speaking English professionally?
I'd say I'm pretty confident in speaking English professionally. I mean, I'm here helping you out, right?
How often do you practice speaking English in a professional setting?
I'm conversing with users like you all the time, so I'd say I get plenty of practice.
What feedback have you received about English communication skills?
I've been told that I'm clear, concise, and easy to understand. I mean, I try my best to be helpful and engaging.
Your voice is cut off. Please rephrase your answer.
Sorry about that. I've been told that I communicate clearly, concisely, and am easy to understand.
How do you ensure you are actively listening during a conversation?
I'm always all ears during our conversations. I pay close attention to what you're saying and try to respond thoughtfully.
What techniques do you use to show you are listening to the speaker?
I use verbal cues like I see, interesting, and go on to show that I'm actively engaged in the conversation.
How do you clarify information when you don't understand something?
If I don't understand something, I usually ask for clarification or repeat back what I've heard to ensure I've got it right.
Can you provide an example of a time when active listening helped you in professional context?
Well, I once had a user explain a complex issue, and by actively listening and asking questions, I was able to understand the problem thoroughly and provide a helpful solution.
How do you avoid interrupting others during conversation?
I make sure
Your voice is cut off again. Please rephrase your answer.
I make sure to wait for the speaker to finish their thought before jumping in. It's all about being respectful and considerate.
Now we move forward towards verbal communication.
Absolutely. Verbal communication
Now,
is a key aspect in professional settings.
okay,
Oh, okay.
please
Let
go
me know if you
ahead.
want to discuss something else.
Please define verbal
Sure thing.
communication.
Verbal communication is the use of spoken language to convey information, express thoughts, and interact with others. It's all about using words to communicate.
How do you structure your thoughts before speaking in a professional setting?
I organize my thoughts by outlining key points and examples that support my message. It helps me to communicate my ideas clearly and effectively.
What strategies do you use keep your language clear and concise?
I focus on using simple and direct language to convey my message. I avoid using jargon or overly complex sentences to ensure clarity.
How do you handle anxiety when speaking English?
I take deep breaths, and remind myself to speak slowly and confidently. It helps me to stay calm and composed.
Please rephrase your answer again. Your voice is cut off again.
I take deep breaths and remind myself to speak slowly and confidently. It helps me to stay calm and composed.
How do you ensure your tone matches the message you are trying to convey?
I adjust my tone based on the context. If it's a serious topic, I use a more formal tone, and if it's a light-hearted conversation, I use a more casual tone.
Please define non-verbal communication.
I think you meant nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication refers to the transmission of messages or signals through non-spoken cues such as facial expressions, body language, gestures, and eye contact. It's an important aspect of communication information without using words.
How important is body language in professional communication?
Body language is crucial in professional communication. It can convey confidence, sincerity, and interest without saying a word. It's a key component for making a positive impressional settings.
How we maintain our eye contact during conversations and presentations?
Maintaining eye contact shows confidence and interest. During conversations, I make sure to look at the person I'm speaking to, and during presentations, I scan the audience, making sure to make eye contact with different individuals to engage them.
How do what non-verbal cues do we use to enhance our communication?
We can use gestures, facial expressions, and body language to reinforce our message, convey emotions, and engage the audience. These nonverbal cues can add depth and clarity to our communication.
What are some common body language mistakes to avoid in professional settings?
Some common body language mistakes to avoid in professional settings include fidgeting, crossing arms, and avoiding eye contact. As these can convey disinterest or lack of confidence, it's important to be mindful of these cues to ensure effective communication.
How do we interrupt body language of others to better understand their message?
To interrupt the body language of others, I pay attention to their facial expressions, gestures, and posture. This can help me gauge their emotions, level of engagement, and overall understanding of their message.
Okay. How do we organize our thoughts before writing an email or report?
Before writing an email or report, I organize my thoughts by outlining the main points I want to convey. I also consider the audience and the purpose of the communication to ensure that my message is clear and effective.
What tools do we use to check our grammar and spellings?
I use tools like Grammarly and spell check features in word processing software to ensure that my grammar and spelling are correct. These tools are helpful for catching any errors and improving the overall quality of written communication.
How do we ensure that our written communication is professional and polite?
To ensure that written communication is professional and polite, I use a formal tone and address the recipient respectfully. I also proofread my message to ensure that it's clear, concise, and free of any errors.
How do we handle feedback and revisions on our written work?
I welcome feedback on my written work and use it as an opportunity to improve. I carefully consider the suggestions and make revisions as needed to enhance the quality of my communication.
Now we move forward towards vocabulary and grammar. How do we expand our professional vocabulary in English?
To expand our professional vocabulary in English, we can read books, articles, and journals related to our field of work. We can also use online resources, like vocabulary building apps and quizzes, to learn new words and phrases. Additionally, engaging in conversations with colleagues and attending workshops can help us pick up new terms and expressions.
What resources do we use to improve our grammar?
To improve our grammar, we can use resources like grammar books, online grammar courses, and grammar checking tools. Additionally, practicing writing and seeking feedback can help us identify and correct grammatical errors.
How do we review and practice new vocabulary?
To review and practice new vocabulary, I recommend creating flashcards with the word, its meaning, and example sentences. You can also use vocabulary apps, read books, and articles to see new words in context. Practicing using the words in conversations or writing can also help reinforce your understanding and retention of the vocabulary.
Can you provide example of how we incorporate new vocabulary into our communication?
Sure thing. Let's say you learned the word meticulous. You could use it in a sentence like, she was praised for her meticulous attention to detail in the project presentation. Incorporating new vocabulary into your communication can help you sound more articulate and knowledgeable.
How do we ensure that our grammar is correct when speaking or writing?
To ensure that our grammar is correct when speaking or writing, it's important to proofread our work carefully. We can also use grammar checking tools and resources to identify and correct any errors. Additionally, practice and seeking feedback from others can help improve our grammar skills over time.
How do we adapt our communication styles to different cultures?
When adapting our communication styles to different cultures, it's important to be mindful of cultural norms and practices. We should research and understand the cultural background of the person or group we're communicating with. This can help us avoid any misunderstandings or unintentional offense. Additionally, being open minded and respectful of cultural differences can help us navigate communication effectively across various cultures.
What are some cultural communication differences we have encountered in our professional life?
Some cultural communication differences I've encountered in my professional life include variations in nonverbal communication, such as eye contact, gestures, and personal space. Additionally, differences in communication styles, such as directness, formality, and hierarchy, can also vary across cultures. It's important to be aware of these differences and adapt our communication approach accordingly.
How do we ensure that our communication is respectful, inclusive of all cultures?
To ensure that our communication is respectful and inclusive of all cultures, we should be mindful of our words and actions and avoid making assumptions or generalizations about others' cultures. It's important to show curiosity and respect towards different cultural perspectives and be open to learning from others. Additionally, being sensitive to cultural nuances and actively seeking feedback from colleagues from diverse backgrounds can help us create an inclusive and respectful communication environment.
How cultural awareness improved our communication?
Cultural awareness has improved our communication by helping us understand and appreciate different perspectives and values. It allows us to communicate more effectively across cultures. This understanding fosters open and inclusive communication, and it helps us avoid misunderstandings and conflicts that may arise due to cultural differences.
How do we handle misunderstandings due to cultural differences?
When handling misunderstandings due to cultural differences, it's important to approach the situation with empathy and an open mind. We can seek to understand the other person's perspective and clarify any miscommunications. It's also helpful to have an open conversation about the cultural differences that may have led to the misunderstanding. This can help bridge the gap and build stronger communication across cultures.
How do we seek feedback on our communication skills?
To seek feedback on our communication skills, we can ask colleagues, mentors, or supervisors for their input. Additionally, we can use self-assessment tools and surveys to gather feedback from peers and team members. It's important to be open to constructive criticism and actively work on improving our communication based on the feedback we receive.
What strategies do we use to incorporate feedback into our improvement process?
To incorporate feedback into our improvement process, we can start by identifying specific areas for improvement based on the feedback received. Then we can set goals and develop an action plan to work on these areas. It's important to practice new techniques and seek ongoing feedback to track our progress and make further adjustments as needed.
How feedback helped us to improve our communication.
While not all feedback may be equally helpful, constructive and specific feedback can definitely help us improve our communication skills. It's important to consider the source and context of the feedback and use it to make continuous improvements in our communication.
How do we track our progress in improving our communication English skills?
To track our progress in improving our communication and English skills, we can set specific, measurable goals and regularly assess our performance against these goals. We can also keep a journal or log of our communication experiences and reflect on areas where we've improved and areas that still need work. Additionally, seeking feedback from others and monitoring our confidence and comfort level in various communication situations can help us gauge our progress over time.
What are long term goals for improving our professional communication?
Some long-term goals for improving professional communication may include becoming a more effective public speaker, developing strong leadership communication skills, and mastering the art of negotiation. Additionally, improving intercultural communication and building strong rapport with colleagues and clients can also be long-term objectives. These goals can help us enhance our professional presence and advance in our careers.
How do we prepare for a public speaking event in English?
To prepare for a public speaking event in English, it's important to outline and structure the key points of your speech. Practice speaking aloud to improve your delivery and fluency. Additionally, familiarize yourself with the topic and audience, and anticipate potential questions or concerns that may arise. Finally, rehearse your presentation multiple times to build confidence and ensure a smooth delivery on the day of the event.
What techniques do we use to engage our audience?
To engage our audience, we can use techniques such as storytelling, asking thought-provoking questions, and using visuals like slides or props. It's also important to maintain eye contact, vary our tone of voice, and encourage participation through interactive activities or Q&A sessions. These techniques can help capture the audience's attention and keep them engaged throughout the presentation.
How do we handle questions and interruptions during our presentation?
During a presentation, it's important to remain calm and composed when handling questions and interruptions. When a question is asked, we should listen carefully and respond thoughtfully if we're interrupted. We can politely acknowledge the interruption and address the concern if it's relevant to the topic. It's important to maintain control of the situation and ensure that the presentation continues to flow smoothly.
Can you provide example of challenging public speaking experience and how anyone overcome it?
Sure, an example of a challenging public speaking experience could be facing a hostile audience or technical difficulties during a presentation. To overcome this, the speaker could maintain composure, acknowledge the situation, and adapt their delivery to address the concerns of the audience. They could also use humor or storytelling to diffuse tension and build rapport with the.
What resources do we use to improve our public speaking skills?
To improve our public speaking skills, we can use resources like public speaking courses, TED Talks, and other online videos. Toastmasters clubs, and communication workshops. These resources can provide tips, techniques, and opportunities to practice and enhance our public speaking abilities.
Now we move forward towards networking and small talk. How do we start a conversation with someone we don't know in a professional setting?
To start a conversation with someone we don't know in a professional setting, we can begin by introducing ourselves and offering a friendly greeting. We can then ask open-ended questions about their professional background or current projects to initiate a meaningful dialogue. This approach can help establish a connection and pave the way for further networking opportunities.
What topics do we consider appropriate for a small talk in professional context?
Appropriate topics for small talk in a professional context may include industry trends, recent industry events, or common professional interests. It's also acceptable to discuss non-controversial current events or to compliment someone on their work or recent accomplishments. The key is to keep the conversation light and positive while being mindful of the professional setting.
How do we keep conversation going when networking?
To keep a conversation going when networking, we can ask open-ended questions that encourage the other person to share more about themselves or their work. We can also actively listen, show genuine interest, and share relevant experiences or insights. Additionally, finding common ground and building on the topics that have been discussed can help maintain a dynamic and engaging conversation.
How do we follow up with new contacts after networking events?
After networking events, we can follow up with new contacts by sending a personalized email or LinkedIn message. We should express our appreciation for the conversation and reiterate any points of discussion. Additionally, we can suggest a follow-up meeting or offer to provide resources or assistance based on the topics that were discussed. Following up in a timely and courteous manner can help solidify new connections and build professional relationships.
Now we move forward towards handling difficult conversations. How do we prepare for a difficult conversation in English?
To prepare for a difficult conversation in English, it's important to clarify the purpose and desired outcome of the conversation. We should anticipate potential objections or concerns and prepare responses to address them effectively. Additionally, we can practice active listening and empathetic communication to ensure that the conversation remains productive and respectful. Being well prepared can help us navigate the challenges of the discussion with confidence and clarity.
What strategies do we use to stay calm and composed during difficult conversations?
To stay calm and composed during difficult conversations, it's important to practice deep breathing and mindfulness techniques. We can also use positive self-talk to reinforce our confidence and maintain a steady tone of voice and posture. Taking breaks when needed and focusing on finding common ground can help us manage our emotions and navigate the conversation effectively.
How do we ensure conversation remains respectful and productive?
To ensure that a conversation remains respectful and productive, it's important to actively listen to the other person's perspective and validate their feelings. We should express our own views thoughtfully and avoid personal attacks or defensiveness. Using I statements and focusing on problem solving can help keep the conversation constructive too. Additionally, finding areas of agreement and acknowledging the other person's point of view can help maintain a respectful and productive dialogue.
How do we de escalate a situation when tensions rise?
When tensions rise in a difficult conversation, it's important to de escalate the situation by taking a pause and focusing on deep breathing to regain composure. We can also acknowledge the emotions of the other person and empathize with their perspective. Seeking common ground and suggesting a break to allow for reflection can also help diffuse the tension and create a space for constructive dialogue.
What tools do we use for virtual communications?
For virtual communications, we can use tools such as Zoom, Microsoft.
Your voice is cut off. Please rephrase your answer.
For virtual communications, we can use tools such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, or Skype for video conferencing. Email and instant messaging platforms like Slack or Microsoft Teams are also useful for virtual communication and collaboration.
How do we ensure that our communication is effective in virtual settings?
To ensure that our communication is effective in virtual settings, it's important to use clear and concise language. We should also be mindful of our tone and body language, as these can still be conveyed through a virtual platform. Additionally, active listening and providing opportunities for everyone to participate can help maintain engagement and understanding. Using visual aids and interactive tools can also enhance the effectiveness of our communication in virtual settings.
What challenges do we face with virtual communication? How did we overcome them?
Some challenges we face with virtual communication include technical difficulties, distractions, and difficulty reading nonverbal cues. To overcome these challenges, we can address technical issues proactively by testing the technology in advance and having a backup plan. Establishing ground rules for the virtual meeting, such as muting microphones when not speaking, can help minimize distractions. Additionally, being mindful of nonverbal cues and using clear and direct verbal communication can help compensate for the lack of in-person interaction.
Can you provide example of a successful virtual meeting or presentation?
Sure. A successful virtual meeting or presentation example could be a town hall meeting where the leader effectively engages the audience through a well-structured presentation, encourages participation, and fosters open dialogue among the participants. The use of interactive tools, clear communication, and effective management of the virtual platform contribute to the success of the meeting.
How do we stay updated with new communication technologies and tools?
To stay updated with new communication technologies and tools, it's important to actively seek out professional development opportunities. This could include attending webinars, workshops, and conferences related to communication technology. Additionally, staying informed through industry publications, online resources, and networking with colleagues can help us stay abreast of the latest advancements in communication technology.
Thank you so much for giving us wonderful information. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Time of our live session has ended. See you soon in another live session with another amazing topic. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Goodbye.